Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Sorry, this is really weird for me because it's my first ever video, but today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make literally the cutest crochet shorts that are perfect for summer. It's such a summer staple, whether you want to lay out or wear them over your swimsuit. I think these are adorable. I just want to start off by saying this is my first ever tutorial, so I'm still trying to figure out like the best way to show things. So if you guys have any questions or any recommendations on things I should add and things like that, just leave them down below and I'll try to respond. What I love about this pattern, this tutorial, is that they're completely versatile to how you want them to fit. You can make them longer, shorter, more flowy, more ruffles, less ruffles. You can honestly make these into pants, and I really debated making a pair of pants. It's a lot. I'm so excited for you guys to make these, and I really hope this tutorial is somewhat good. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, just leave them down below and let's get started. Also, I just want to preface by saying that this is a made to wear tutorial or made to fit, so it's not a specific number of rows or things like that to a certain size. It's kind of you try it on as you go. So I would typically recommend trying on the piece after every step that we do. And if you guys use my pattern, I would love to see your pictures and videos, so you can just tag me, tag my Instagram. I would love it. So yeah, let's check out the tutorial, I guess. I don't really know. For this project, I'm going to be using acrylic yarn. This is just the Big Twist Value acrylic yarn. One skein, which is 380 yards, will get you through one set of shorts. And you can obviously use cotton or whatever you prefer. And I'm using two hook sizes. I'm going to be using a 5mm hook and a 5.5mm hook. One's going to be for the waistband and one's going to be for the body. If you don't want them to be as mesh or see-through. Scissors. For this project specifically, you'll need 2 stitch markers. If you want to use more at your convenience, you can. I am only using 2. And then since this is a made to measure pattern, we're going to be using a measuring tape. You can also just try on the project as you go. Okay, this is just my overview for the project. I just want to explain it. So we're going to be first starting with the waistband and working down from the waistband and splitting off the legs, and then at the end you'll add all the ruffles. So let's get started. For my waistband, I'm going to start with the 5.5mm hook, and we're just going to obviously make a slip knot. And this, we're going to start off with the thickness of your waistband. So if you want a thicker waistband, you can chain more. If you don't want such a thick waistband, you can chain less. Okay, I don't want my waistband to be that thick, so I'm going to do 8 chains. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this is going to be the thickness of your waistband. Like I said, you can always chain more or chain less. And then we're going to add a turning chain. And then next, we're just going to work all the way back down with single crochets into this chain, skipping the turning chain. Okay, I've reached the end of my chain, and I'm just going to chain 1. I always chain 1 for a turning chain. And we're going to turn our work. And this is when we'll start doing the waistband ribbing. This is what will make it stretchy. So you're going to look in at the top, and you're going to enter into the middle of the V's into the back loop. So this is called a single crochet in the back loop only, and we're going to work that all the way down. So I'm going to just show you, skipping this first chain here, we're going to insert it into the second, back loop only, and do a single crochet. Oops. So one more time, you can kind of see that defined V shape. So you're going to insert it in to the back loop all the way down. Okay, so how we're going to measure this is, if you want it low-waisted, you're going to measure the length or the circumference of your hips. If you want it high-waisted, you're going to measure the circumference of your waist. I prefer mine low-waisted, so my waist measurement or my hip measurement is 32 inches. So I'm going to make a long back loop only ribbed panel that is around 30 inches because it'll give it some stretch. So you're going to continue, keep measuring, and make sure it's accurate. Hey guys, it's me editing this. I'm so sorry, but throughout this video the scene is going to change a lot, and I'm sorry, it's like not a consistent background. I really just wanted to produce this video as fast as I could for you guys, so I just kind of filmed it wherever I could. I promise for future me, I will keep in mind, but hopefully you guys can still understand, and that's just a little disclaimer. Okay, so I finished my ribbing stitch for my waistband, and to join it, I'm going to slip stitch these two sides together. Make sure it's completely straight. So we're just gonna go here. You can sew them however you like to join ends together, but we're gonna be working in the round next. So we're just gonna make sure to join everything together. Okay, so here we have slip stitched it together like so. And it's gonna be just a big loop. So for my waist, which was about 32 inches, I did 94 rows of back loop only single crochet. So next I'm going to start my base for my shorts, and I'm going to chain one, so I didn't tie off where I slip stitch, and I'm gonna go all the way around and do 94 single crochets in every row. So you're just gonna want to count how many rows you did, and from there single crochet all the way around. Try not to skip any, and you can obviously keep count. And as I'm going along, I'm also tucking in my tail that I did to start my row. Okay, I'm already back at the start of the round, so we're gonna work our last two single crochets here. Make sure you don't skip where you slip stitched, because that was a row that you slip stitched together, so go there. And then to end the row, we are going to slip stitch into this chain one that we had earlier, like that. And again, we're just going to chain one. Okay, so now we are going to work by splitting off or sectioning off for our hip increases. So I'm going to take 2 stitch markers, and I'm going to place the first one into this chain one. This is going to be where our hip, one side of our hip is going to be. So we're going to place it into that chain one, so when we come back around, we know this is where we start and where we are going to make our increases. Sorry, I know it's yellow so you can't see it, but so we have 1 stitch marker there. And like I had mentioned earlier, I did 94 rows, so I'm going to split 94 by 2, which is 47. I'm going to count 47 stitches across, and I'm going to put a stitch marker there as well. Make sure when you count 47, you're still counting this where you slip stitch into. Okay, so this is my 47th stitch right here. So I'm going to put another stitch marker here. Sorry. 47. And if you look, you can kind of see how that is halfway. So now we are going to start working half double crochets, and I'll show you how to do this. So we're going to come back to where we first started, and since this is where we are making an increase, so instead of the 5.5 millimeter hook, I'm moving down to a 5. And to do our increases, we are going to do 3 half double crochets into this first stitch. And we're going to be working in the back loop only. So, 1, 2, and the back loop again. Insert into the center of the V, and it's the back. So you're just going to keep continuing. Okay, so we are back at our second stitch marker, and again we're going to do 3 half double crochets into the stitch. When I move my stitch marker for increases, I always stick it in my second increase stitch, because that is the center of 3, like that. And then we're going to do a third one. So that when you come back around, you know that you're making an increase into the second stitch. And we're just going to keep going all the way around until we get to the beginning again. So I slip stitch into the first chain one and I chain one again to start a new row. And we're actually going to be working in the round, so as if you're doing a panel, we're going to turn our work. And since we're doing back loop only half double crochet, it's going to create like the same texture, and this will give us ridges to put our ruffles into. So we're going to yarn over, make sure you insert back into that first slip stitch. And all the way around until you come back here, and this is where you're going to do your increase on the other side at the end of the row. Also, don't forget to increase here where your other increase marker is. I'm going to show you guys really quickly how I'm closing my work so that it's pretty solid on one side and you don't have any gaps. So I'm near the end of my row here. I'm going to do a half double crochet into the back loop. Make sure your tension's pretty tight. And then since we chained one at the very beginning, you're going to find that chain one stitch and literally go straight into it, do a slip stitch, bring up a loop, and then chain one again so that when you come back around you're able to chain into that. And then you're going to turn your work and you're still going to work into this second chain from the hook, not your chain one. And remember, you're going to go back loop only. I'm going to continue this pattern of back loop only half double crochets, turning my work at every round until I have the measurement of where my waist is to my crotch. I can put an image on the side so I know so you guys know what to measure. If you don't want to do measurements, you can always just try it on and see if it'll reach it. So I think I'll have about like 10 more rows to do. So yeah. So here I am. I have done 13 rows of half double crochet in the back loop only to create this ribbing stitch. You can kind of see how it's been increasing at the hips there. If you want it to be more flowy, you can increase it more, but I stopped increasing the past 2 rows there. So here we are. So now we are going to be splitting off the legs, and this is going to be kind of confusing. So this is where the start of the row is, and we're going to turn our work again so we can still keep this texture going as you go down on each leg. So turn the work, and I'm going to chain one, just for now. Then you can either count the stitches or just kind of guess. I just guess where the center of the pants is going to be. So the way I do that is I'm going to fold it in half and line it up, and usually the 2 ends here are where it's going to be. So I'm going to grab 2 stitch markers each other. So again, I'm going to put 1 stitch marker here, 1 stitch marker on this side. Okay, so then we're going to just bring it back this way, see how they line up. They're about 1 off, so I'm going to move this yellow one over. If you want this to be more accurate, you can obviously count. If you want it to be more accurate and you're not as lazy like me to split for the legs and make sure it's even, you would count how many stitches are in that row and divide it by 4, and every number, so if you divide it by 4 it would be X, so every X amount of stitches is where you'd place your stitch marker, and that will be your hip points and then the bridge where it goes between your legs. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to put our hook in here and make sure you're still following this ribbing texture. So again, turn your work if you need to, and you're going to do a half double crochet all the way across until you hit this stitch. I stitch into where the stitch marker is. I don't stop before it. So okay, this is where I'm at. So I did a half double crochet in the back loop all the way to where the stitch marker is, and now we're going to make the bridge that goes in between our legs, and this is how we're going to split off the legs. So to do that, you can measure the distance like on your crotch. I usually just like to guess. Obviously it's going to be different for everybody. What I totally recommend is to do the bridge and then don't continue on yet, but rather put a little stitch marker in it, try it on, and then adjust it as needed. So for me personally, mine is either anywhere from 18 to 20 chains. So I'm going to do 18. 1, 2, I'm going to start with 20, and you can kind of see how it'll look splitting off the legs. And I'm going to actually do not a slip stitch, but I'm going to half double crochet into this stitch. Make sure you're working in the round, so again you're still going in a circle. So we're going to turn our work so we can keep the ribbing texture going, because we need to work in this back loop to have it come out. So we're going to do a half double crochet into this back loop where my stitch marker is. Sorry, I hate when it gets tangled. So half double crochet, and then we're just going to keep working all the way around until we come back to where we started. Okay, we are back to the beginning. I already did my slip stitch through the chain 1, then chain 1. And just like we have been doing, you can kind of see where this leg is coming into shape, and obviously when you wear it, it's going to not look so weird. But we're going to chain 1, and again, turn your work to keep that shape or that texture going. Chain 1, turn your work, you're working in the back loop only. You're going to go all the way around back to where the stitch marker is, and then I'll help you guys with this. I also want to say, if you need to keep increasing at each side, you can still keep increasing at where your hip is. I don't, so we're just going to do it like regular rows. Okay, so here we are back at where the stitch marker is. So to go across where the bridge is, or where the center of your legs are, we're just going to do a half double crochet. Obviously you can't add any texture because it's just a chain stitch. If your stitch is knotted, it's okay, it's just a chain stitch, and you're going to go on both sides of this either way. So I'm going to make sure you count. I'm going to insert into each chain. It could be really tight, so just make sure you get into each one. And do a half double crochet, and we're just going to do this all the way across. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then here we are back to where the stitch is. So I did count 20, and now we're just going to keep continuing as we have been, which is just back loop, half double crochets all the way back here. You're going to want to make sure when you did your half double crochet row that it's straight. Sometimes it can end up twisted depending on which side of the chain you stitched into. It's okay if your chain is twisted, just make sure you stitch on the same side the whole time. So we're going to do all the way back until we meet at the beginning again. Okay, so this is where you're going to start having like a lot of creative freedom. You can literally make these as long as you want. If you want, you can make them in pants. That would be so cool. You can make them mini shorts, whatever you want. I usually like my shorts a little shorter, but we're literally going to keep going in the round as we did with the body here on this side right here, as long as we want our legs to be. I usually like to do 6 rows. I think it's pretty good, but again, it's all up to you if you want it to cover your butt, if you want them to be smaller. Again, make sure you are turning your work every round. Okay, so I've reached the end of how long I want my shorts to be. I did 8 rows from where I split off the legs, and now this is where I'm going to start the ruffles for the end of the leg. For my ruffles, I'm going to be doing double crochets, and we're going to do 2 double crochets into each stitch. So I already chained 1, and we're just going to be doing 2 double crochets into each stitch. We're not going to do any increases or anything like that. You're just going to do increases in each stitch all the way around in every stitch, like so. So I'm just going to continue doing this all the way around the edge of the leg. Okay, I'm at the end of my row. Make sure you do your 2 double crochets into this last stitch. You don't want to miss it. And just like you do every other row, you're going to go and slip stitch into this chain 1 down here. And you can see how our ruffles are forming. You can keep them this length. I usually like to disperse them a little, so I'm going to do another round of double crochets. This time, instead of going into each stitch with 2 double crochets, I'm just going to do double crochets around 1 in each stitch, so it can kind of disperse these ruffles and not be so tight. If you want your ruffles to be more ruffly or longer, you can continue doing increased double crochets in each stitch, or if you want just the ruffles to be longer, you can go as many rows as you'd like for the ruffles. I usually think 2 rows of double crochet is a good length for me. So we're just going to go all the way around in double crochets. Okay, so I finished this row and you can see how the shorts are starting to take shape. So you have one leg here and then you just need to do your other leg. So this is what the ruffles look like. I think it's the perfect length. So I just slip stitch back into my starting chain and I'm going to go and cut this off. And you can weave that in later. And then we are going to start on our other side. So our other side is basically going to be the same as this side, where we are starting at the end and we're going to make this little bridge across, doing back loop only half double crochet. When we get to this part where you can join the legs so it's seamless, I will teach you guys how to do that. But yeah, so I again just like to hook on where I did the increases, and since I know that the last row I did of back loop only was on the back side, I'm going to actually turn my work so that we can keep this texture going like I had mentioned before, and I'm just going to insert it on the outside here. This is where I have my stitch into, and we're also just going to do a back loop on the half double crochet. And we're just going to do this all the way around. I'm going to go and carry my yarn so I don't have to weave it in later, but yeah. Okay, so I've made it back to this seam where I bridged off for the other leg. You really want to be careful with this part because if you don't do it correctly, then you'll have either excess stitches or you'll have a hole there. So you can kind of see from the previous row, this is exactly where the stitches need to be. This is not an extra place where you should put a stitch. You want them to connect side by side like this and be like one seamless seam. So with half double crochets, it's actually technically one stitch, but I'm going to seam this up extra good so that it's going to be 2. So I'm going to get rid of the stitch marker here. And again, this is where we started the bridge for the other leg across. And what you're going to do is you're going to make 2 slip stitches. You're going to make one in where that stitch marker just was. That just marked like the middle of the round. And then you're also going to make one into this half double crochet stitch. You don't want to do it in this hole because then it'll pull on it and make that huge hole. I like to just wiggle mine in the stitch itself, so you can kind of see there. And you're going to also slip stitch. So you can kind of see how that's going to work up if you keep continuing on. And then you're basically going to go, this was a row of single crochets, so you're just going to do half double crochet all around. There's no back loop or anything, but you're just going to continue that. Make sure you don't skip this first one right after where you slip stitch. It's a little hard to see sometimes. So just half double crochet into that. And then you're going to do this all the way around into every single crochet stitch. And just make sure you don't miss any. And really quick, I'm going to show you. So this is what it'll look like. Half double crochets across a single chain bridge and then back to our textured back loop half double crochets. And basically after that, it's going to be the other leg onward. So I did 8 rows, and after this row I'm going to do 7 more, and it'll be exactly the same. Really quick, we're back at the other seam on the other side of the leg bridge. So this is the last one I showed you, and we went across. And we're literally going to do the same thing here. So you can see that this is a half double crochet stitch. So I'm going to do a half double crochet there. oops, make sure you get it into the right spot. Yep. I have double crochet there, and then we're gonna slip stitch into the next one to make that connecting bridge, and then again going down, back loop only, half double crochet all the way around. Okay, so I finished off the shorts by adding the same ruffling that I did on this other side with the same amount of rows, and now we're going to be working on the actual ruffles on the body. So the meaning of the texture working the back loop only is to really emphasize which rows we are going to put the ruffles on. I counted each extruding row, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 extruding rows. And I typically like to do an even number of rows, specifically for these ones that come out, just so I'm able to skip one in between and have really no issues. So I always like to mark mine. So we're going to start our first ruffle row on this first one, just so there's not a weird gap here. We're going to skip one, and then we're going to move to this row here. If you want your ruffles to be more spread out, you can do more than one row in between. You can do 2 rows, as many as you want. The look is honestly up to you, but I think 1 row in between is the perfect amount. And the rows the ruffles are going to be the same for every row, so they're going to be the same. How we worked in here, we're going to be doing 2 double crochet increase into each stitch, and we're going to do a few rows of that. So I'll show you. Find the stitch marker. So we're going to be working in this row here. We're going to be placing them into this V shape here. You can kind of see where they create V's. And you're going to do that for every stitch, because this is the stitch itself, as if you were working in a normal round. So we're going to put our hook through here. And we're going to start off with just chain 1 to secure the stitch in place, and we're going to go all the way across underneath these V stitches, and we're just going to be doing a double crochet. And I like to tuck my work as I go, so just like this. And with that, we're going to be working all the way around in this row, just doing double crochets. Okay, I think I forgot to say, but you're going to continue that double crochet all the way around for the first round, and then when you move to the second row, kind of how you did on the hem at the bottom of the shorts, you're going to do double crochet increases to get that ruffle. You can also do double crochet increases first and then do just a regular row of double crochets. I did it the opposite way. I think I lost the clip for that, but so each ruffle row is 2 double crochet rows, and one of the rows is an increase row in every stitch, if that makes sense. Okay, so I finished this row, and you can kind of see how it will overlap onto the other rows. So you just want to continue doing the same ruffle stitch into each of these markers that you have here. Oops, it looks like I messed up on one. This one needs to move up one. But really make sure that you double check, because sometimes with this laying flat, you might want to skip this one. But just make your way down, and you're just going to keep doing the same stitch over and over. When you get towards the ones that split off in the legs, you're just going to have to separate the rounds. So you have to do 1 ruffle on this side and 1 ruffle on that side as you work around the leg. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, so I'm literally just going to do this off camera. Okay, after some time, I was finally able to finish the shorts. Basically, I continued finishing the ruffle rows like I showed you guys, and I just weaved in all the ends. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and I really hope that your shorts came out as cute as mine did. I know since this is my first tutorial, it can be a little iffy. So if you guys have any questions or anything, comments, just leave them down below, and I'll try and get back to you guys. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you next time. Bye.